All right, we are live. Tuesday Titans Live. We're bringing you today a beast of a man. We're bringing you Anthony Lee. Anthony Lee is a military veteran. Thank you for your service, very much so.
Welcome.
Thank you for protecting our country. Um, one of the best shirts I saw recently was "Don't disrespect this flag unless you've taken the risk of coming home underneath it."
Right. There you go.
That's like
I
one of
like
my
that
favorite.
shirt. That's a good
Gave
one.
me goosebumps to say that again, brother. But 22-year career in the military, special forces, top 1% real estate professionals nationwide, elite competitive athlete. Wait till you hear this competitive athlete story. We're not just talking competitive athlete. I was picturing a dude that bikes his ass off. We're talking legit stuff, including beer drinking. So pay attention.
That's right.
But just a little snapshot. You've got some really cool stuff, Anthony. The brotherhood, which is one of your sayings is iron sharpens iron. I love that. We're going to talk about that. 17-time Ironman athlete, 5-time Boston Marathon competitor, U.S.
Yep.
long course champion, U.S. national champion, Olympic qualifier back in the military. Am I right?
Yep.
And then the most impressive for me is the Michigan Beer Mile champion, which you have to run a lap and then drink a beer. He drank 4 beers, ran a 5-minute, 7-second mile. That's drinking beers. Probably would have been a 4:30, 4:35 if you didn't have beers on the way.
Close. If I didn't have beers, I had to drink.
That's unbelievable. Way more fun with the beers. But listen, Anthony, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here for Tuesday Titans, and we're going to make people's lives different today.
Heck yeah, Randy. Appreciate it. I'm glad I'm on here. Glad to get a chance to share, and I hope that everyone listening can grab a little nugget, golden nugget of something they can go execute on, because everything's about execution, right? I can sit here and talk till I'm blue in the face, but if you don't go out and do it, nothing's going to change.
Amen, brother. That's so true. So let's talk about that. Let's start with your military career, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So 22 years, Army, Special Forces. Walk us through that a little bit. What's that look like, and how'd you get in? I know we talked about a little bit on the teaser, but give the audience an idea.
Yeah, so I started in the Air Force, actually. So ended in the Army, started in the Air Force. Most people go the opposite way.
David Goggins.
Yeah. So, if Dave's listening out there, I mean, you just did 200 miles this last weekend. I was in Florida. I sat on the beach and drank beer. So good job, Dave. I give Dave shit. It's okay.
Dave?
Yeah. So it's, I started out, poor kid out of Ohio. I had my first daughter when I was 18 years old. So, I ran really fast in high school. And so I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy, but having a dependent, you can't go to one of the service academies. So I decided to enlist. I was like, we're at war. Let me enlist and go to war and start kicking ass. So I enlisted in the military. And, back then the tryouts were a little bit different. They took you out on Saturday and you went and swam, did some push-ups, pull-ups, ran. And the top people stood there and you're like, pararescueman or combat control. I chose pararescue. So that was the start of that. As I was doing that, I got into triathlon. So, I ran the 800 meters. So I had what's called a B Olympic qualifier in the 800 meters. Ran a little over 147 and some seconds for that. But that was what's called a B Olympic qualifier. So for people who don't understand track and field, you have A Olympic qualifiers and B Olympic qualifiers. A Olympic qualifiers mean, hey, you go to the trials, you're in the top 3, you automatically go to the Olympics. B Olympic qualifiers mean not only do we have to be in the top 3, but we have to make the qualifying time for the actual Olympics. So I was like a second or 2 off for that. And I knew in my mind, I was like, okay, in reality, I'm not going to get a second or 2 better in a year. And it's just not going to happen. So I started training for triathlon, learned how to swim. I already knew how to swim, but learned how to swim a little more competitively. In fact, funny story, when I was a kid, when I was 15 or 16, everybody knows Lance Armstrong. He did Iron Kids back then. So he came and did one of the Iron Kids races in Ohio, and I entered it. I was there as a kid, but this kid named Lance, we didn't know who he was, but he came and beat everybody. My mom still has the thing at home, the little newspaper clipping, because back then they put results, Lance Armstrong, and then I'm way down here. Right. But so I got to say I got beat by Lance when I was a kid. Cool. So anyway, started training for triathlons again in my 20s. Started to do very well in that. Became was on the World Class Athletes program. was able to train for the Olympic trials in that for 2000. Didn't make that, but came off of it. You know, I still had to deploy and go to war. So in between wars and deployments, we would come back and compete and train. So I was on the all Army team, all Air Force team, all world team. I was the 2-time United States Military Sports Association Athlete of the Year for triathlon or for overall athletes. Within that time frame, I also became a Pro 1-2 cyclist. I also ran the Boston Marathon 5 times. The last time, if you could look it up, my time has, I don't know, like 4 hours and something. I don't know. I broke my foot in the middle of the race. So I was having problems with my foot, but I didn't care. I still trained. But I broke it like around mile 10. So I'm never going to quit. So, I knew my foot was giving me problems, but I ended up actually breaking it in half. Finished the race, but it was raining. It was pouring that year. So I got to go back here soon and vindicate that race when we can do that again.
Wow. I mean, obviously the thing that stands out to me, and you mentioned knowing David, and I just read his, book, Can't Hurt Me, recently, an incredible book, probably life-changing book for a lot of people. But
yeah,
what goes on with the mindset that I hear these extreme elite athletes, and you're in that category, breaking your foot and still finishing races. And like you said, it rolled off your tongue, like, I'm never going to quit. I mean, how does somebody wire themselves, maybe that's listening to this, to transform themselves to that never give up mentality? I mean, David's motto was "Can't hurt me," but I hear it with these elite athletes like yourself, and I put you in the highest level of that category. Where does it come from?
I think it's just a mental shift. It goes back to, like, people listening may or may not have take like DISC personality tests and things like that. When I look for even agents to be in my brokerage now, I want them to have a high D, high I, no S and C. Well, maybe a little bit S and C, but not a lot. It goes back to that, just my personality and how I was raised. And I think a lot of it has to do, for me and for people that can relate, they see David's story too. Now, David's a little more extreme because he was fat and stuff, but, you look at me growing up a very poor kid in Ohio. And I mean, like, we used to have, back then, WIC and food assistance was, we had beans and cheese and milk delivered to our doorstep, right? My dad was a waiter and my mom, was a secretary until she stopped, to raise me. And so, I lived off of, what a waiter makes, right? He was raised in a family. So not a lot of money. So I don't know if it was always trying to prove something as a kid, and then just having an innate athletic ability and just wanting to go places, knowing that athletics could take me out of that. But then when I got into the military and into special forces, like, we have a thing called what's called one-man comp. So SEALs talk about it. So we go to what's called Special Forces Combat Dive School. So that and Dive Week at Navy Buds, so that's the Navy SEAL portion of it, it's the same exact thing. In fact, there's Navy SEAL instructors at the one in Key West, and it's the same one that's done in California. The big difference is their water is cold, our water is warm. I went to the warm water. Right. I'm fine with that. I don't care. Anyway, so we have what's called one-man comp, and you put on all your equipment, and to pass, this is get you on in the course to pass. You have this blacked out mask and you can't see anything, and you gotta, they take your regulator out of your mouth, you gotta hold your breath, then they tie it in a knot sometimes. So you gotta go through progressions to see if you can get the knot out, and then you put the regulator back in, and eventually they're gonna tie it or put the regulator where you can't get it. Well, if you come up to the top of the surface and it really wasn't called the whammy knot, then you fail the evolution and you're kicked out. Like, you get one chance. Wow. One chance. And if you pass out underwater, like, if you're trying to get it under, you don't know, and you pass out, you get to do it again because you didn't quit. You just passed out underwater. We call it seeing the wizard. You just pass out. Wow. And I saw the wizard a lot getting trained up for that. But when I was there, they said I was down for a little over 4 minutes. Like, I held my breath for 4 minutes just because I didn't want to fail. And I mean, the guy was like, after 2 minutes, he was like, you could have came up. You knew, but I just kept going through just to make sure. So it's just that mental attitude, and it's hard to train in people. And I think you can to a point, but when stuff gets really hard, that's why, special forces people are who they are, and elite athletes are who they are. Because when Michael Phelps or these runners, when we get to a certain point in training, we just keep going where others will stop, right? So, and we always would try to make training harder than the actual race itself.
That's amazing. And it's a nice explanation, understanding of what goes through the mental side of that. And, you know, I've got my own memory of boot camps and different things that
Right.
challenges you, but that's a whole new level, brother. That's a whole new level. And, you know, I mean, can you take somebody that's been raised maybe with a different upbringing, a silver spoon or whatever, and
Yeah.
break and put that into them? Do you think it's inherently bred into you almost?
You know, I think it is. I don't think, you know, the people, you know, God bless you if you were born rich and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, even in triathlon, even in racing, you know, if, you know, for instance, my first race, I still have it up in my attic. It's a steel Columbus tubing Schwinn Paramount. If you remember back in 1993, you know, it was steel. It cost me $650. That was a lot to, you know, an E3.
Weighed as much as a dresser.
Right. You know, and it was heavy, but I trained. So I went, I applied, I won some local competition, and the base put me in, and I got to go to the U.S. National Championships for the first time ever, right? First real big triathlon. I'm there on a steel bike. I don't have the aero bars at the time yet because I couldn't afford them. I just had the clips for my shoes, but I knew I trained harder than all these motherfuckers, all these people.
Wow.
So I went there and I won, and all these people were like, who is that guy? Who's that kid? Because I beat all these officers, and, you know, I became an officer myself, but at that point in time, I was like, I just beat all these punk motherfuckers on these two $10,000 bikes.
Shame.
And it was just because I was mentally just stronger, like on that bike and run. Like one of them would come up to me and I wouldn't let him pass me. I wouldn't. Like you hear Lance Armstrong talk about it too. You know, they come up and you hear Prefontaine and you read some of his books from back in the 60s and 70s. I would let him get there, but I was like, screw that. I'm just going to go. I'm not going to let them ever get ahead of me. And maybe that's because I had a chip on my shoulder and because, you know, I was a nobody, but it was just, you know, I don't know if you can train that into people because some people don't have that, or they're just like, all right, second's okay. So just like in real estate, to me, and in life, second place is not okay. Like I have to win. Like Michael Jordan, I don't want to win. I have to win.
Wow.
I just have to win. If I don't, there's no, like I have no plan B. I don't think I'm going to go out there and not get that listing now, right? Every time I walk into a house, I get the listing. I'll get it somehow. It'll be mine.
Well, I could talk about your military experience all day, and I'd love to, but let's transition for a second and then we'll come back maybe. Real estate. That was what was on my mind is you got to be an absolute fucking animal going into the listing appointment. I mean, how do you do that when, you know, there's such a competitive market now and there's so many, people discounting commissions and everything else. Walk us through that for you.
Yeah. So just let me tell the story. So
all right.
I got out of the military. So to know where I came from, I get out of the military, you know, I came off of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, right? I was one of 5 foreign military sales officers that actually been in country, sold equipment to Iraq and Afghanistan, right? I sold all the M1A1 tanks and munitions and F-16s to Iraq.
Sales experience start basically.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a different kind of sales, but you know, it's, you know, multi-billion dollars of sales, but a lot of sales. So, you know, people like me, when we walk out, we can get cushy 6-figure base salaries with 1% commission on like the Lockheed side of things,
right?
Or the general, right? So if you think if I'm selling $17 billion worth of equipment, of Lockheed equipment or aircraft, you just think about what 1% of that is, right? But I didn't want that. I didn't want to travel overseas anymore. I never want to go to the Middle East ever again, ever again. Now, if I get drafted back, of course I'm going to go fight, but they're not going to take a broke 48, 50-year-old. Even though I still think I could whoop some young kids' asses.
Right.
Got old man strength now. You know, so I got out, and so I retired, and, you know, my wife is still active duty. Okay. Wife is still active duty. I still have GI Bill left. I get out. I want to go finish my doctorate at DU, the University of Denver. In that time, though, you know, real estate's interested me from investing. for so long. I'm like, well, I could be an agent. I had no idea, but I could be one. And I was like, well, I didn't know it at the time because I had never attended a Tony Robbins event. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But I essentially burned my boats. I went to Denver to enter school. And I was like, I told my wife, I was like, well, I just want enough money for food and rent. That way I have to sell something. Right. And I sign up at a brokerage in Cherry Creek, Denver. And it was one of the luxury brokerages there. Since people will be listening to this, I'm not going to say which one. But my broker there at the time, he was like, you need to go out and get 200 no's. I'm like, all right. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I want you to walk around Cherry Creek. You got to remember Cherry Creek in Denver is the upper, and it's where all the rich people are in Denver. It's where, you know, all the Broncos lived. It's where Shanahan lived, right? All that. So I'm walking asking all these rich people, they want to buy or sell a house. I have no idea what I'm doing. Finally, some guy says, yeah, I actually wanted to go see that townhouse over there. Can you get us in there? I was like, yeah, let's go. He's like, right now? I was like, yep, let's go. So I go sell this dude a townhouse, $285,000 townhome, make my 70%, my 3% when I got my split was 70-30 at the time. And the broker was like, great. All right, you can now start calling on FSBOs and expireds. Back then, it was still a book, right? It wasn't all online. It was still a book. So he handed me this book and said, start calling. So I like, okay. So I start calling. After a few, I'm like, well, this fucking sucks. So I just ripped the page out. And I was like, I'm just going to drive over to these people's house. So I drove over to a house in Cherry Hills Village. Cherry Hills Village, for those in Denver, know that it's very affluent. You know, average home sales price is probably a little over $5 million. Cherry Hills Village Polo Club. You got to realize I didn't know the difference between luxury real estate and all the other, now that I do. I just thought real estate was real estate. So I walk up to this dude's house. It was a $4.3 million expired, knock on the door. And he's like, he answered. He's like, what do you want? I was like, hey, I'm Anthony with so-and-so real estate brokerage. I'm here to see if I can sell your house. He's like, what makes you think you could sell my house? The agent couldn't sell it. These people have been calling me all day. What makes you think you could sell this house? I look at him, Randy, I look at him straight in the face. I go, well, if I can make it through 9 fucking wars and not die, I think I can sell your stupid house. And the guy looked at me and he goes, come on in.
Come on in.
Come on in. He liked that. So it was, that was my first listing, right? First listing.
No kidding.
First listing, my broker then took 50% because he had to help me on it.
Yeah, of course.
Whatever that meant. I learned a lot that first year, right? So that was my start. You got to realize, so when I started too, I went to meetup groups. I worked 20 hours a day. I went to meetup groups. I went to, you know, I networked. I didn't ask people.
20 hours a day.
Yeah, 20 hours a day. Because you got to realize I came from the military. I worked 20 hours a day. I was going to be the best. I'm in this office with all these old people driving these cool cars, right? And I'm like, well, okay, I can do better than you guys, right? So I just worked hard. It probably wasn't the smartest way to work now that I know a little more things, but I was the hardest worker in the room. And what that meant is I did 750-some thousand in GCI my first year, just for me fucking pounding the pavement, talking to people, right? And working 20 hours a day. And to me, Chandler, to me, that was, okay, I thought that was normal. I was like, doesn't everybody do that, right? And pretty soon the ladies in the office were like, well, can I come hold your open house? I was like, well, why would you want to do that? I'm going to go do it. They go, no, you don't do open houses anymore. You should be out there doing others. And I was like, I had no idea. I was like, I still did my own open houses, right? And I would get clients from each open house. Right? I would always get 4 or 5 new clients from each open house. So anyway, after that, I took some of that money and, invest in coaching, of course, but I also went to Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within with my best friend, Chris. And that was a game changer. So after that, I joined his Platinum Partner Group, got in. So, cause I knew if I wanted to be a millionaire, I needed to be around other millionaires. I knew that very quickly. And so I did that. And now, fast forwarding now, I want to be 100 millionaire. So I'm trying to, I'm on my way to that group. But back to that. So I started with Tony, got me into the right mindset, right? And I learned what it would take to make $1 million a year. I was close at 750, but it wasn't $1 million, right? So that next year I went out and did $1 million, but it just was a shifted mindset. Went to business mastery, the whole Platinum Partner thing, flew around, did all that. Did Day with Destiny with my wife, which was really cool. So I just took that work ethic from athletics in the military, and I still do that. Like I don't probably have to, but I still work 12 to 15 hours a day. I'm bred that way.
in your DNA.
There's no stopping me, and mentally, and it's hard, Randy, and you're a coach, you coach people. So you probably see, I just don't have a different switch. I can't stop. I just won't. And now that I own my own brokerage, now I want to be number one. So I realize it's a hard road. I realize that I'm probably not going to beat that Remax office of 400 people. I'm probably not going to beat that Keller Williams office of 1,000 people on pure numbers. But what I can beat them on is agent profitability.
Yeah, correct.
Meaning I can make my agents more profitable and more money. So I'm the only broker in town that has quotas. Everybody that joins our brokerage and team, they have to sell. They have to make a quota. So I won't let people just
rare
and not sell. I'll fire you. I'll fucking fire you.
Hog a mirror, most companies will entertain it, but
yeah,
I love that. I love that.
So and it's a buy into the culture, and that they I have them have that relentless attitude that they we just go. We don't go until we think we're just going until we get to where I need to be. Right.
Love that. And what's the name of your office?
The Elite Group Real Estate.
Elite Group Real Estate. Easy.
Look, I just got a new hat too. See that?
Oh, look at that. Other way. Turn the other way. Other way. There you go. Yeah. Oh, nice. The Elite Group. The Elite Group. I got you.
So it's fun. And people ask all the time why I didn't, just stay as a solo agent. I like building teams, like building teams of teams. I like building big things. So, I'm going to build this to a certain level, and, we're going to do $1 billion, and then I'll probably go on to my next thing. Just because I can't sit there.
So you're going to have all kinds of different agents listening to this, a lot of people that are going to find inspiration, motivation, and direction. Hopefully, you never know when you reach that one person, it just flips a switch in them. But what would you say to a newer agent coming up and maybe in a business a year or two, maybe even in your own brokerage experience or whatever, but what would you say to them being the coach that you are and having the success you've had?
My biggest thing, and I tell this to new agents, I don't want you to think, I just want you to do. You don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. And the law of differentiation works, okay? I'm here to tell you, I am the law of differentiation. When real estate agents do this, I do this. So just the same as like my business card. Here, I'll show that. See that business card, right?
Yeah.
There's no picture on that. The only time I had my picture on was my first one because the brokerage made me get it. After that, I was like, fuck that. All these other old people have it on there. I'm doing something different. I went to someone with Gary and Ryan 2 years ago. I was Agent 2021, whatever it was called. It was down in Florida. Gary was up there talking about the law of differentiation. And, I don't know how many agents were in the room, and I think probably 4 of us actually took it to heart, right? So, we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. It's like my friend Jesse, he says, when he started NetJets or whatever the jet company he started was. When he was in business school, he talked about he was going to make a brownie, and the business teacher said, well, how is your brownie different? Right? So to all the new agents out there, I always ask them, how is your brownie different? And they all look at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, how are you different? How are you going to be different than the 4,000, like in our county alone, 4,800 agents? How are you going to be different than 4,800 people? What are you going to do? What are you going to say that's different? Are you going to just go with the crowd and make $70,000 and be okay? Or are you going to be up here with us making fucking millions, right? And controlling the market. And I tell people along the way, don't worry about what other people say. Don't worry about what other people, and that's the biggest hurdle for people to get over, Randy. And you probably notice it. Yeah. People are worried about what their husbands are going to say, what their spouses are going to say, what their kids are going to say. And actually, I think, in today's age, they're worried about what more people are going to say on social media or do whatever. Totally. And I don't. So if you look at my professional picture, it's me and my dog, right? It's me and my dog, right? I had a lender tell me, oh, that's never, why are you doing that? That's not professional. People aren't going to want to work with you. Hey, I was like, and he said this is when I was launching my brokerage last year. He was like, that people aren't going to do. I was like, you know what? They are. And so, and they do. People love, I get hits off my Zillow profile online just because I have a picture of me and my dog. They're like, oh, I saw a picture of you and your dog. That looks cool. We need to buy a house, and we have 3 dogs.
I love it.
Right? So I would tell new agents, you know, find out why you're different, and then just go out there and do. Don't overthink everything. Make phone calls. If you're going to make phone calls, make phone calls. Just make them. You're going to mess them up. You're going to sound horrible, and you're probably not going to get many conversions, but you might get one, and one's all you need.
I love your for sale by owner story, because that is a differentiator, you know, by itself. Everybody else is making the phone call or sending the letters, thinking what they're doing, and you're knocking on the door. We know that's the best and highest best use of that, but people don't do it.
Yeah.
And then when you ask them or coach them to do it, they resist you because it's hard, you know, and that's the struggle in this business.
And
you know, frankly, 1.4 million agents in the US, and out of those, you know, we're going to turn over probably 30 to 50% of those on an annual basis, unfortunately. And it's a tough business for the faint of heart, effectively.
it is. You gotta put your big boy pants on.
You gotta put your big
Because I tell you what, if I come to your market, I'm going to fucking crush you. I don't care. You know, I'm expanding into Florida.
Your metal bicycle.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna come in and crush you. So either you get on my team or fight with me, and it's gonna be fun. We might go drink a beer, but I'm still gonna beat you and do more than you.
So glad I don't live in your market, because you are a force to be reckoned with. But wow, I love the way this is going, and I really want the people to get out of it. The amount of just iron that you come from is really remarkable. And you know, I've interviewed a lot of people that are successful, and there's traits that you could pick up on. You've multiple times have said, I'm not quitting. I'm just not quitting, you know? And I think that's a DNA thing, man. I think you're raised with that. I think that's somehow hardwired into us from the people that I talk to that have success. There's no lack of belief that they're going to achieve and get it done, right?
Yeah, it's, you know, I tell people all the time. So I have people start there, and I tell people, what do you want to achieve? Well, that's possible. So, you know, working with Tony for so many years, the power of belief, you know, I've read Think and Grow Rich probably 50 or 60 times, right? It's only probably in the last 2 years that I truly understand now every chapter of the book and how it works, right? It's funny. People read that book, they're like, huh. And you think you get it, but you don't. And I think, you know, I'm now just starting to really understand it, even though it's strange, but the power of belief, like even in racing, like even when I went to some of the big races and I didn't win, before that race, I saw myself winning, you know, even now, right? I see myself getting to $1 billion in sales. I see myself getting to $1 billion. There's no reason I won't. And if I see myself getting off track, I correct and I do whatever it takes to get back to being where I need to be. But you got to have the belief, and you got to believe in yourself, and people are going to tear you down. And they're going to say stuff. Because you got to realize now you're taking yourself and your mind to a different level. And it's not necessarily when they say stuff about you, it's not about you, it's about them, because they're not there. They're not doing it. Yeah. They're not in the arena, right?
Say that again, brother.
Yeah, it's about them. It's not about you, right? When they say stuff, when they try to pull you down, it's their own insecurities.
I would put you up there with one of the hardest men I've ever met in my life. And
well, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome and deserving. Your resume is more of a pedigree, but the person that's listening to the show, how do they take that strength and not care about what everybody says, especially in the social media environment and likes and comments and maybe some of the younger generation? I think you have a lot of wisdom to share with them now.
Yeah, I think how do you do? That's hard to say how you do.
Question.
It's tough. You know, I've watched Gary Vee struggle with it too, even him on his platform, because he tells people to do it. But in reality, it's hard not to give a fuck what people say. But the moment you do, the moment you don't give a fuck about what people say, you're going to be successful.
You're free.
You're free. You don't care. You're on your path. and you're doing you, right? And if they come along, they come along. If they don't, they don't. You're gonna make new friends. You're gonna do it. So I don't know how you actually, it's, you know, in my mind, it was, I've always, I guess it's like since I was a kid, I just never cared what people thought. I mean, I guess as a kid, probably I did, but you know, probably from 30 years old on, even in the military, being in special forces, you know, we really don't care what, you know, we don't wear uniforms around bases. Usually we do, not really. And, you know, our hair is longer, you know, we have facial, you know, things are different. Right. And we really could give a shit. Like when I moved on to staff, so fast forward to my career, I get selected to be an aide to the chief of staff of the Army, handpicked to do that. I spoke my mind for you. Got to realize I came from enlisted, 9 years enlisted, 9.5 years enlisted, right? So I'm going to max out probably lieutenant colonel. I could stay in to make general, but whatever, you know. So I'm sitting there as a major, and I have all of this on my shoulder. You know, I'm walking in, and these colonels and generals have, I don't know, 3 ribbons, whatever. Because I knew, you know, I had a lot to add. I didn't give a fuck what they thought. I mean, yeah, I'll say sir, and I'll say, you know, but I'm actually going to tell them what I thought. And they respected that because I was like, no, you're wrong.
Right.
And they're like, but yeah, I was like, no, you're dead wrong. And, you know, respectful.
They're not used to, because in the alignment of the chain of command and things, it's just, you know,
yeah,
that's what bugged me the craziest when I was in the military was somebody, just because they had a bar or two above me or whatever the number was, it was, they were gospel. Right.
Yeah.
But with you guys, it was a completely different animal.
Yeah, it was, you know, we just don't care. I'm like, I walk in and I see how many combat tours I've been on. I look across the room at this colonel who has maybe been in Turkey and got a patch. I'm like, bro, you don't know fucking shit. Go get me a cup of coffee. Right?
Oh man, I love you, brother. I love you. So talk to me about your the brotherhood. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So the brotherhood I started. So, you know, when I got out of the military, you got to realize my first few years in the military, not around women. You know, we saw women that processed our paperwork. You know, we're out in the field. It was a male driven. It still is. It's a male driven unit. So getting out of the military. By the way, I have 4 daughters. So, you know, I love women, but I have 4 daughters and a wife. But you know, in the military, you're ingrained in a unit so much. I missed that, right? So I knew I missed it, and I knew that there was things that I could pass along to the brotherhood, to other men, not only just other men in general, but men in real estate, top level. So these are guys that want to take their business to the next level, like their minimum, like they have to do a minimum of 500 GCI to even get in, right, to the top level. I explained to you earlier, I was thinking about all these other different levels of coaching, but I quickly figured I'm a better operator. I'm a good coach,
right?
But my time, I would rather be on the field. So, you know, we've limited it to a few people, and they're all, you know, they all make more than 500. They just want to take their businesses to 1 million plus. And so, like I say, iron sharpens iron. You're around people that do it, that have been there, that know how to do it, then you're going to get there yourself. You know, if I wasn't around people that made $10 million, I would never thought I could make $10 million. And now, you know, me buying a jet and making 100 million, that's coming
on the horizon.
It's coming. I don't know about the jet. You know, I've kind of backed off of the jet now that I see the actual costs associated with, like, me just
doesn't make sense. Doesn't compute.
I'm just like, God, I'm just like, holy shit.
Right.
But I guess when you're making that kind of money, it doesn't matter. I'm not, you know, but I don't know yet. So I don't know if I'll do that or just what I'll do. But
I loved Brian Buffini years ago. I was at an event with Dave Linegar and Remax, and we were in this little brokers group, and he was like, you know, somebody goes, why do you fly in your own private jet? And he goes, well, first of all, as soon as you can, you do.
Right.
He realized he was moving all his luggage and all his people and all this stuff around. And when he added up the math, he was like, I'm just buying my own freaking plane. And then once he did that, he never went back, you know. But yeah, having a G5 or G6 is a different level stuff. It's good.
It is. And then, you know, the next thing I'm probably going to just because of time right now, I'm going to be traveling between 2 states. I am going to get on like one of those net jet programs or whatever. Well, it's not going to be my own jet. This way I can go
harder, basically, you know. I think it's
yeah, that's all it is. So, you know, I'm probably going to do that next, especially as I grow in Florida. You know, so for me, being in
Colorado and Florida.
Yeah, Colorado and Florida.
Okay.
So, and we're thinking about Texas right now, but opening up shop there at the level I want to, I kind of want to get Florida off the ground first.
Geographically.
So,
Let me share my screen and show the folks your brotherhood page at least here.
yeah, check it out.
So I don't know if you can see that as well.
I can.
Oh,
Cool.
awesome. So I've got his brotherhood page up here. This is Anthony J. Lee. You see his logo there. It's very cool. We're an elite group of men dedicated to becoming the best versions of ourselves in life and in real estate. We are creating a life by design on our terms and living the life most can only imagine. Discover what is possible when you surround yourself with unstoppable men. I love that. It gave me goosebumps when I saw that, brother.
Yeah.
So, what are you reading right now? What's fueling you? And then I want to move into like your morning routine. I'm obsessed with morning routine right now.
Okay.
Talk to me about what you're reading. What fuels you?
So, where is it? Is it even in here right now? Oh, I'm sitting on it. So right now the team is actually. So my friend Andy sent me this. I've done it before, but my team is going to do this.
A beast.
Yeah, so Andy's a good guy, man.
Completed 75 hard myself last year with Tom Daves and some of my buddies.
Yeah, so I've done this multiple times, but the team's doing it, so I'm reading this with them. Come January 4th, we're gonna read Pound the Stone. So I recommend everybody go read Pound the Stone.
Pound the Stone. I didn't know he had a book, by the way.
Yeah. So what I'm actually reading for my own enjoyment right now is this. Well, actually, I'm executing and reading is this Scaling Up by Vern Harnish.
Oh yeah.
So this is the team. This is me. We'll be reading Pound the Stone. If you're in sales and you're out there and you're listening to this in real estate, go read Pound the Stone. Fucking do it, and then you'll
recalibrate.
Well. And then the other book I always go back to with my people is Fanatical Prospecting.
Interesting.
So my go-to book, though, just so you guys know, my go-to book is Relentless. I love this book. If you look in here, you'll see all my notes. Like I took tons of notes.
I love it.
But anyway, yeah, so Relentless. So everybody that joins my brokerage and team, they have to read this book first, then they have to read this book. And so they read this book. Once they move into here, they have to do 5 chapters a day. Then they have to give me 21 action steps off of the 5 chapters that they have to execute that next day.
Wow.
So, like I'm saying, if you want to join my
running a SEAL team in your brokerage.
That's why. So, Randy, everybody in my brokerage is going to make $250,000 next year. They're going to make $250,000, and that's off of a team split. They're going to make that. So, like I say, I hire killers. Like, it's
and you're attracting that too. I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They're my avatar.
So I love it when I love that they're my avatar. I love when you talked about Think and Grow Rich. I've read that probably 8 or 10 times myself now, and the first couple times I was like, "This is awesome," but I didn't get it. And then I started getting a little piece of it. And then I started really attracting to it. And now it's still my Bible to this day, not the Bible, and don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but it's my business Bible. It's my, yeah. Oh yeah. And mine looks just tattered like yours. And
it's you.
That's so awesome. So tell me about, I'm afraid to ask actually, your morning routine. What's that?
Morning routine. All right. So, morning routine.
Run a marathon every morning. I'm hanging up on this podcast right now.
So morning routines are very, very important, right? It's how you start your day. So my morning routines have transitioned since I stopped competing athletically at that top level.
At a high level.
I still do the same things. It's just more geared towards business, but I still work out. I still work out. So, for instance, let me give you what my morning routine is now. Wake up at 4:30. All right, 4:30. I get up. I do my breathing exercises. I go out. I grab a cup of coffee, and then I read. Okay, that takes me to about almost 5. Then I get dressed. I go to the gym. 5 to 6:30. I'm back at 6:30 from the gym. I eat breakfast. I do whatever. Then at 7 o'clock, I'll grab my phone and look at my phone. So there's the important key is I want everybody to just remember what I said. I didn't touch my phone.
Right.
2.5 hours.
I keyed that.
2.5 hours. Okay. So that's my morning routine, reading, breathing. That's kind of like meditation. Now moving into 2021, since Spartan races and Tough Mudders are coming back in, hopefully, right? So my friend is Robert Killian. He's a current Spartan race champion. We competed together in the military. I'm going to go win the Masters category. I want everybody to notice something, how I just said it. I didn't say I'm going to go try. I didn't say whatever. I'm going to go do it. So I mean, people need to realize the minute that I come back and do it, I'm going to win again. So my morning routine is going to change a little bit. I'll be up at 4:30. I'll still go grab a little cup of coffee. Then I'm going to go for a 4-mile run. And then I'll do 1 hour of CrossFit. And then I'll do another 4-mile run. I'll be done by 6:30 to 7. I'll ran 8 miles, done CrossFit. I'll work 10 hours. 6 o'clock at night comes. I go back and I either bike or run again. So I'll either bike for 60 minutes or I'll go for another 45 to 60 minute run. And then just repeat that every day until we get there. And then on Sundays, of course, it'll be different because I'll run a lot longer. But that's what my morning will look like once I start training up in January.
Wow. So I would imagine other people listening to this are feeling the same way. As where's that passion come from? Are you driven to do this? Do you love to do this? Do you just commit to it and there's not a fucking choice? How's it work?
So that's just it. So where most people, here's the difference, Randy, is most people want to win. They want to win. I have to win. Michael Jordan had to win. LeBron James has to win. Tiger Woods has to win. Lance Armstrong had to win. I have to win. I don't want to. I have to, because that's just me. I have to. Just like I have to make I have to make $1 billion in sales. I have to grow the brokerage. And when I talk, and when you hear me talk, and when I talk in front of groups and people, I'm never using should, or I'm never using all these pronouns or verbs. I'm always talking in the positive. I'm always pushing people forward. I was kind of teaching my agents that a little bit today when, closing some deals. You can't be so soft with people. You just got to, kind of be nice.
They're looking for leadership. They're looking for leadership.
They're looking for you to tell them what to do. So like, I went out to this house and I told them, I was like, all right, you guys like this? This is what you're going to do. I'm like, great. Let's go in here. Put your earnest money down. We're going to sign the contracts and we'll be done. Closed. We're out. They'll have their home here in a month. Done. Right? So it's a difference. Just like when I say I'm going to win something, I'm going to do it. And I have to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't, who the fuck wants to wake up at 4:30 and do that dumb shit? Nobody, I don't think anybody wants. I mean, I kind of want to.
Right.
I know any different, but I have to, because in my DNA, I have to win.
Committed to it.
Yeah, exactly. And once I commit to something, I'm going to do it, because of course, before, I'm not going to quit.
I have zero reservation in my mind that you'll accomplish that.
Oh, I will.
Bro, what a great time together. I really, really have enjoyed this. And Bill Pipes connected us and said, you got to meet this guy. He's a beast of a man. And I just really want to thank you. And before we wrap this up, anything you want to share with people that you think might be of value, or anything that is going to be impactful, you think?
Yeah, man, I think, in what's going on in the world and life, be the light, be above it. Don't be that person that goes out there and a client. Let's just talk about real estate people.
Yeah.
Don't be a person that goes out there, you meet this client, they start talking how bad COVID is and whatever, and you start jumping on that train. Be the beacon of light in their life, because that's what people need right now. They need positive people. They have the news hounding them. They have social media. Be the light. Be kind to people. Be nice. And then on your own self, just go for it. I mean, fuck it. Just go for it. Burn your bridges. Quit making excuses for yourself, because that's all they are, is they're fucking excuses. They're excuses on why you can't do something. And guess what? I'm working harder than you. Someone else is working harder than you. Whatever market you're in, I think about this all the time, Randy. There's someone out there working harder than me. There has to be somebody that wants it more than me. And if there is, by golly, I'm still going to work harder than them. So, at 10 o'clock at night and you're wanting to go to bed, just know that I'm still awake, probably working on something.
haunting to take over.
You know, so the biggest thing to take away though is right now, be kind to people, you know, be the light in their life. And then for your own life, I want you to take charge, no excuses. I want you to stop thinking about things and just fucking do it, execute. I don't want you to talk about it. Everything I do, by the way, Randy, I usually have about a 70% plan. And then I just fucking go because life changes. I mean, nobody knew about Corona or whatever, right? So life changes. You know, I opened my own brokerage and then COVID hit. Oh, fuck, right?
Right.
It's, you know, you got to pivot. And so just go for it. Timing's never going to be right in your life. Guess what, everybody? The timing will never be perfect. So just do it.
Dude, I love that. That's a perfect place to let off, especially with all the uncertainty and all the just drama and bullshit and stuff we have in our lives right now. We have to be the light. And I love that about you. Been my pleasure having you again. Thank you for your
thank you
country. And I think you've just given a lot of value and service to a lot of people in the business entrepreneur segment, real estate, and other brands, man. I love that. And where can they find you if they want to get a hold of you?
So pretty easy. Anthony J. Lee on Instagram, my middle initial, Anthony J. Lee. You can go to anthonyjlee.com. You can go to Facebook, type in Anthony J. Lee. We had to, you know, the marketing people had to make it all the same. So Anthony J. Lee everywhere. And if you want to buy our house in Colorado Springs, theleeGroupUSA.com.
Boom. I love it. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Knuckles to you. I appreciate you very much. And thank you for being here, brother. Pete, have a great day, and thank you for your wisdom.
Thank you.
All right, my friend. Take care. Bye-bye.